Section 1 of In the Fog. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Bob Gonzalez. In the Fog by Richard Harding Davis. Chapter 1. The Grill is the club most difficult of access in the world. To be placed on its rolls distinguishes the new member as greatly as though he had received a vacant garter or had been caricatured in Vanity Fair. Men who belong to the Grill Club never mention that fact. If you were to ask one of them which club he frequents, he will name all save that particular one. He is afraid if he told you he belonged to the Grill that it would sound like boasting. The Grill Club dates back to the days when Shakespeare's theatre stood on the present site of the Times office. It has a golden grill which Charles II presented to the club, and the original manuscript of Tom and Jerry in London, which was bequeathed to it by Pierce Egan himself. The members, when they write letters at the club, still use sand to blot the ink. The Grill enjoys the distinction of having blackballed, without political prejudice, a prime minister of each party. At the same sitting at which one of these fell, it elected, on account of his brogue and his bulls, Quiller Q.C., who was then a penniless barrister. When Paul Préval, the French artist who came to London by royal command to paint a portrait of the Prince of Wales, was made an honorary member — only foreigners may be honorary members — he said as he signed his first wine card, "I would rather see my name on that than on a picture in the Louvre." At which Quiller remarked, "That's a devil of a compliment, because the only men who can read their names in the Louvre today have been dead 50 years. On the night after the great fog of 1897, there were 5 members in the club, 4 of them busy with supper, and 1 reading in front of the fireplace. There is only 1 room to the club, and 1 long table. At the far end of the room the fire of the grill glows red, and when the fat falls, blazes into flame, and at the other there is a broad bow window of diamond panes, which looks down upon the street. The 4 men at the table were strangers to each other, but as they picked at the grilled bones and sipped their Scotch and soda, they conversed with such charming animation that a visitor to the club, which does not tolerate visitors, would have counted them as friends of long acquaintance, certainly not as Englishmen who had met for the first time, and without the form of an introduction. But it is the etiquette and tradition of the Grill that whoever enters it must speak with whomever he finds there. It is to enforce this rule that there is but 1 long table, and whether there are 20 men at it or 2, the waiters, supporting the rule, will place them side by side. For this reason the 4 strangers at supper were seated together, with the candles grouped about them, and the long length of the table cutting a white path through the outer gloom. "I repeat," said the gentleman with the black pearl stud, "that the days for romantic adventure and deeds of foolish daring have passed, and that the fault lies with ourselves. Voyages to the Pole I do not catalogue as adventures. That African explorer, young Chetney, who turned up yesterday after he was supposed to have died in Uganda, did nothing adventurous. He made maps and explored the sources of rivers. He was in constant danger, but the presence of danger does not constitute adventure. Were that so, the chemist who studies high explosives, or who investigates deadly poisons, passes through adventures daily. No, adventures are for the adventurous. But one no longer ventures. The spirit of it has died of inertia. We are grown too practical, too just, above all, too sensible. In this room, for instance, members of this club have, at the sword's point, disputed the proper scanning of one of Pope's couplets. Over so weighty a matter as spilled Burgundy on a gentleman's cuff, 10 men fought across this table, each with his rapier in one hand and a candle in the other. All 10 were wounded. The question of the spilled Burgundy concerned but 2 of them. The 8 others were engaged because they were men of spirit. They were, indeed, the first gentlemen of the day. To-night, were you to spill Burgundy on my cuff, were you even
Sample complete. Ready to continue?